Some men are fortunate enough in their lifetime to do exactly what they want to do. While others only dream of a life of adventure, John Miller has turned that dream into reality. He considers himself a treasure hunter, and to be more specific, a prospector, concentrating his efforts through the mountain regions of gold-bearing country.
Where all your finer material will wash right over the top, so the lighter material will go right up over.
Although John and others like him are thought of as modern prospectors, many of the techniques they use to recover gold in its natural form date well back into history. The ancient Indian civilizations were well versed in the process of extracting gold from the earth to create incredible works of art. But the gold rush of 1849 was the hallmark in the chronicle of this rare metal. A carpenter named Marshall discovered a few flakes in the American River near Sacramento, at a spot that would later be known as the legendary Sutter's Mill. A letter was written and dispatched letting the world in on the secret, and suddenly thousands of men, young and old alike, packed their gear and headed west in quest of nuggets, flakes, and dust. The true American prospector was born, and gold mining became a permanent fixture of the Old West. The California Gold Rush may have been the greatest treasure hunt of all time. It was an era when the country was totally consumed with striking it rich, with hopes of finding the mother lode. Today, gold is still king of the hill, one of the most sought-after commodities in the world. There has always been a widely held belief that if all forms of monetary exchange should fail, gold would survive. So men like John Miller set out on the back roads, searching for new territories that might give up that hidden bonanza. Along with Bob and Frank, John has set his sights on an area that he's heard is producing some good color. That's prospecting talk for that pretty yellow flash in the pan that brings a smile to the face of any experienced gold hunter.
Looking out my window, they watching people move slow. I wonder if they have dreams, and is their quest what it seems? My life has made some strange turns, but if it's one thing I have learned, you gotta go for the gold and strike that mother gold. Gold, gold, I gotta find gold. It'll make me a rich man indeed. Hey, gold, gold, I need to find gold, and the world would be mine on a string. Yes, the world would be mine on a string. There's a new high going round. It's finding treasure underground. We don't need no special skills. Get high in Mother Nature's thrill. So I'll pack up all my dreams and head up high for mountain streams, where the air is so pure. I'll find my gold, that's for sure. Gold, gold, I gotta find gold. It'll make me a rich man and king. Yes, gold, gold, I need to find gold, and the world would be mine on a string. Yes, the world would be mine on a string.
The gold-bearing region that these prospectors prepare to explore is a series of mountain lakes and streams. But the metal they search for here is not truly native to the area, originating in what is now Canada during the Ice Age and brought down to the United States with the movement of the glaciers. An area in a stream where white water rushes along the banks is one of the prime sites that John looks for. This water velocity is what brings the small flakes and nuggets from the mountaintops and deposits them in the slower-moving pool areas below. By far the most important of all recovery tools is the gold pan. Even after thousands of years, first believed to be utilized by the Egyptians, it's still the most popular form of extracting the yellow metal from the earth. John shows Bob and Frank where to shovel the best panning material, in this case from the stream bank along an inside curve. The basic principle is that the moving gold will be deposited at any obstacle, including a variation in the bank formation. He uses a classifier to separate any large pieces of stone or debris before he starts the panning process. Now, any prospector worthy of his trade knows one important fact. Gold is usually found with black sand, referred to as magnetite. That's the telltale sign of a gold-bearing stream. The black sand is a ferrous mineral, and because of its weight, it collects with the heavier metals. John works the pan, allowing the water to displace the lighter sediments. The material he wants to keep stays in the pan or is caught in a series of riffles along the outer rim. Once he gets to the point when the magnetite shows, then the process is a bit more delicate, as he carefully separates the black sand from any flakes or nuggets. One of the gadgets he uses, he designed himself, a plunger with a magnetic cord to extract the black sand. And finally, the payoff, BB-sized nuggets and a few flakes, a real successful pan. He stores his gold in small glass vials filled with water for safekeeping, and grabs up the ultra-small particles with a plastic suction bottle he calls a guzzler. John leads Bob and Frank further up the rapids to find a suitable spot to demonstrate his sluice box. This unit actually dates back to early days of prospecting, similar to a flume. Some were over 1,000 feet long. A good flow of water is a must to operate the sluice properly, as it uses the heavy wash to classify the sediment shoveled into the top. The incline, along with the water flow, pushes the larger material along and past the gold traps inside. The heavier particles, the gold and sometimes platinum and even garnet, are trapped in the riffles that are designed like the rungs on a ladder.
Gold is unique. There's a true magic to gold. For eons, people have been collecting gold, making different idols out of it. It's a substance that man has treasured for almost forever. And the thing that's so unique is it is not something easy to find. You just don't walk up and find it. You have to work for it. And I think the work and the sweat that goes into finding the gold is what makes it valuable to you.
What gold can be spotted after the wash does its job is picked up from the riffle board, but the supporting screen and the carpet at the bottom of the sluice box goes back into the pan to catch the smaller particles, which is where most of the gold will be found. There's another aspect to prospecting, and although it's not as popular as panning or sluicing, it may just be the best-kept secret about the art and science of gold recovery. They call it mossing. As everyone knows, moss grows heavily over the rock formations along streams and creeks. But what they may not know is that when the water swells and rushes through the minute plant tissues of the moss, small flakes of gold actually become trapped and held there. By simply scraping the moss from the rocks, the weekend prospector can extract the gold and pan it out to recovery. For the beginner, it's an easy way to get started in the exciting world of gold prospecting.
You know, when you take a piece of jewelry that's been fashioned by man, it's a beautiful work of art. But when you're in the natural elements. You're in the stream or along the bank and you find a piece of gold that's been there for in excess of 350 million years, and you're the first one to see it. This is beauty in its true form.
John, I must say this is quite a collection of gold nuggets you have here. Did they all come from one place, one area, or what?
Most of them came from one general area.
Okay, what were you doing? Panning, mossing?
We were dredging.
Dredging
at
on
this
this
time.
one. Okay.
Did you dig up
Yeah,
all
these.
one day?
No, this is over about 3 days.
Okay. These seem to be heavier than most of what we were seeing.
Part of the fascination of precious metal recovery is learning about the intricacies of gold, how to identify it, test it, and determine its value.
So after we get something like this, I guess the next step is to test it.
Yes.
And I see we have some equipment here set up for that. How's it work?
What we're going to do is use this nitric acid diluted mix that came in the test kit and take this glass rod or a little piece of wooden stick and touch it to this piece of brass. And you'll see a reaction on here where this will start to darken up.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, and if it were gold, what would happen?
There would be no reaction at all.
The reaction would just stay perfectly clear.
Correct.
Now, I notice we've seen nuggets here, and I see a few more of them in here, John, but what is this, gold in what?
This is gold and quartz. Gold and quartz go hand in hand. During the volcanic period, about 350 million years ago, when the earth was boiling, the gold was put into a glass form, which is the quartz rock. When you're in the field and you're looking for your gold, one of the natural rocks that you would look for is pieces of quartz. And if you're very fortunate and you crack a piece of quartz open, you'll find your gold streak in here.
How do you actually spot it when you're hunting for it?
Most of the time you don't see the gold until you break the rock down a little bit, and then you find the gold streak into it. Knowing that gold and quartz go hand in hand, it's a natural. This is where you would start.
What's that, John? It's unusual. I know it's gold, but it seems to be very unusual shape there.
This is known as wire gold. See the shapes, how pointed they are?
Right.
The reason this has very sharp points is this has not traveled very far. When it was broken free from the quartz, it stayed in one place.
The dredge, a miracle for the modern prospector. A centrifugal pump capable of moving anywhere from 5 to 20 cubic yards of material an hour, depending on the size of the engine and the diameter of the suction tube. These gasoline-powered sluices are the answer to the prospector's dream. The unit that John uses is actually light enough to be operated by one man, and if necessary, disassembled for backpacking. But of course, all the sophisticated equipment in the world cannot make up for the ability to zero in on the spots that produce gold.
I'll set it right down here, Frank. This area right in here looks about the most productive. See the way the bank is all eroded? During the high water, the lighter the material that carries the gold, your magnetites, your black sands, and your heavy metals would come on down, and because of this depression, they would be deposited right in this general area here. So from what I see here, I think this would be probably the best spot to start out.
Good.
Fortunately for the prospector, the volume of precious metal to be found in a stream bed can vary dramatically due to a number of factors. Rains, flooding, droughts, and even the time of the year can influence the gold production at any particular site. That's why stream beds are rarely worked completely out. prospectors can return to an area years later and still manage to find some color. John gives Bob and Frank a few pointers on operating the dredge and what to look for. Gravel and sand deposits washed up from the stream are the prime target. That material tends to lay in depressions on the bottom or build up along the banks around rocks or roots.
There's a nice big one. Here's another one.
There's no missing them.
Boy, oh boy. You got that file?
Sure. There you go, John.
One. Here's another one.
Yeah, here's one, John.
Oh, yeah.
Just gonna throw them up under the roof.
Very good.
I don't see any more, but I'm sure there are some more in there, John. And we've got the black sand in there. So where do we go from here?
Well, we're going to pan this out now.
After the gold is picked up from the riffles, then John once again pulls the carpet and the rest of the loose material, then pans it out.
Yes, we're just getting the big material off. Not too likely we'll find anything. If we see a large nugget in there, we can grab it out. That's pretty good right now. Now let's set this up here. And nothing on here. We won't need that anymore. And we'll pan this out. And set it over here. It's great how this works, isn't it? The old prospectors, they had to rely on the steel pans, and it wasn't near as easy as it is with the newer construction.
Knowing the history behind the area being prospected helps a great deal. And John has done his share of research over the years to increase the odds of hitting it big.
Normally, this stream would be much higher in the spring than it is right now. The fact that it's down like this is a real advantage to us because we're close to the bedrock where we want to work. Back in the late 1800s, when this was really a gold mining area, where it was a producing area, the old-timers, this water would have been much higher than it is today. And what the people would have done then is built long sluices known as long times. They didn't have the modern conveniences like we do now, the small dredge like we're using today. So they would have had to shovel their material into these sluices and rely on the water coming down through to move all the light materials and the silts out. And they would have to move, probably 60, 70 yards of material to produce what we can do with this dredge in a period of an hour or so. Because we just go in there and suck it up off the bottom where all the gold is.
The treasure hunters decide to test another spot along the stream.
When you operate one of these, you can really feel the power that it generates. The large stones jump up through the hose and you can feel the rush of material being classified. The whole operation is really amazing.
Sometimes when the conditions are just right and a little bit of luck guides the suction hose to the perfect spot, the result can be overwhelming, a once-in-a-lifetime recovery.
John, what is this?
Frank, look at that.
That's a nugget and a half.
Isn't that beautiful?
Boy, that's nice.
That's a find of a lifetime right there.
It's a find and a half.
Oh, Bob, look at this. Gold.
There's a new high going round. It's finding treasure underground. We don't need no special skills. Get high on Mother Nature's thrill. So I'll pack up all my dreams and head up high